Hey, my nerdians, this is DK,
And this is Ozpin.
and this is part 2 of the intro into D&D for the podcast, Levels of Ridiculousness. I hope you guys enjoyed the last one if you watched it. If not, go back and watch it. Then you'd understand this part. Today we're going to be talking about mainly just 3 more classes, which is Cleric, Paladin, and Monk.
We can touch on the Ranger a bit more too, considering that the last episode was so full of
Randomness.
Yes, it was such a. We're gonna use the word conversation. Not sure it does the tangent jumping justice, but we'll probably be able to cover if we keep our running time of about an hour for each of these, then we'll probably have enough time to cover all the classes and still go on plenty of tangents. So this is D&D Part 2. Part 2 of Episode 0. I think I called it an alpha episode, so I guess this is
Beta.
Yeah, this will be the beta episode where we, continue to try and figure out exactly what we're doing as far as this podcast goes.
This will be level 1, to be all honest.
All right.
So let's go ahead and start talking about clerics.
Sure. I'm going to say up front that while I have a lot of experience playing the spellcasting classes, sorcerer and warlock, I don't have a lot of experience with cleric and paladin, and certainly not in 5th edition.
I have some experience with paladin at 4th edition at 3.5. I don't have any in 5th. I have a small bit of experience at 3.5 with a cleric. Main thing I want to touch about...
and I don't know anything about monks.
I know monks.
I don't know a damn thing about monks.
Well, let's get on to the clerics about playability. Not everybody just doesn't want to be the healer.
Yeah.
They don't. They want to be the one that gets out there, does the damage dealing, does all the cool stuff.
It depends on the player.
Yeah, it depends on the player, but
But I have seen people get really irritated being stuck with that role,
Yes.
And it's understandable if you're rolling a cleric just to try and fill a gap that you feel the group needs filled. Role of a healer, when you may have been more open to playing something else.
Yes, and there's different pathways you can take as a archetypes. 3rd level for clerics. One's mainly focus on busting out Holy Smite.
Yeah, battle clerics.
Battle clerics, which is what people don't seem to recall a lot. Battle clerics can do a whole hostess of things.
Oh yeah.
When they get spells on top of having usually Morning Stars, D10s.
Yep.
And they add on to their Constitution onto that, and they have, I believe they have like dual weapon fighting or shield and
I don't know.
1 weapon fighting.
I have never rolled a 5th edition cleric. I've rolled 4th edition paladins. I played 4th edition paladins extensively, and my ranger, story-wise, was essentially a paladin. But again, that's just flavor text, and you can alter flavor text and story information as much as you want to get across what you want to get across. But yeah, you can play a healing cleric, you can play a battle cleric.
They have a lot of good health. Their hit dice a D8, so
that's not bad.
It's not bad. It's a lot better than a rogue D6. They're proficient in heavy armor, so you can wear full plate.
So that the
I'm sorry, medium armor. You can wear half plate.
So that the audience is aware, a cleric is someone who is empowered by a god. But both clerics and paladins are individuals that have been empowered by gods and given the ability to heal or smite or protect. There are a lot of different versions based on the archetype for each of these classes. When you think cleric, the immediate thing that comes to mind is healing cleric because they are essentially priests, right?
Essentially.
Yeah.
They have multiple different archetypes.
Yeah.
You can. There's a great website you can go to called Wiki powered by Fandom. Fandom powered by Wiki. Sorry.
Yeah. That is the that's the most accurate D&D wiki that I've found as far as 5th edition goes, because the D&D wiki has things that aren't official rules, and Roll20 is another D&D wiki, and that one has straight up, like...
Wrong.
Yeah, it's straight up incorrect, what it says.
Clerics are mainly known as healers and warriors. I tried to find online a good archetype to express that, but all the ones that do battle are pretty similar, actually. There's a controlling one, which means that you move the enemies around on the field.
Controllers, yeah. Controllers are fun.
And then there's another one where it just deals damage. You get a bonus action when you crit, stuff like that. The cleric that everybody doesn't want to play is the healer, which is the standardized cleric.
I wouldn't say everybody doesn't want to play them. It's just people are generally... I find that if you get stuck with the healing role, if you had an interest in playing something else, if you're basically pushed into it, it becomes a problem. But I've seen people roll clerics. It's not like people hate the cleric class. It's just, it's kind of a necessity, and if you're stuck with it and you don't want it, that could be a bummer.
Very much so. But you can also think the cool things you can do role-playing as a cleric. Healer cleric, let alone. There's a move called Mass Cure Wounds. It's 5th level spell. And just think about that. You can gain fame inside a place by gathering a bunch of sick people together and a 30-foot radius and just cast it. At that point, you get 3d8s plus your spellcaster modifier. And that's if you don't cast it at a higher spell, and you heal the people around you. And there's no... It's about
six... Mass
Cure
Wounds?
I think it's up to six creatures.
What's the spell?
Mass Cure Wounds.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So you can go around, and you can... it increases, I believe, 6th level, 7th level. The higher you cast it, the more it heals and the more people or creatures.
Yeah, it's a great spell.
And it's instantaneous. Imagine you can go into a city and there's people hurt, and you can just, as a role-playing aspect, spam this to heal everybody, and then now the town sees your group as a
what level
saving
spell
grace.
is it?
It's a 5th level spell.
Don't think you can spam that at any point, but you might be able to cast it once or twice a day.
That's why I'm saying in a role-playing thing, if the DM would let you.
Yeah.
That's what D&D is about. It's all about... There's limitations in combat and stuff like that. But if the DM will let you to enrich the story, some will let you do that.
And that's fair, because DMs are really cool about that sometimes. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're like, I'm that type of DM, and frankly, the type of DM you're talking about, I've never seen.
I am that type of DM.
But like, if you have 2 5th level spell slots, you've got 2 5th level spell slots. If you're going to use them, you better figure out what you're going to use them on, because otherwise, there's no drama. If you're just able to, you learn the spell, you can cast it as many times per day as you want. Then not only do the characters become unchallengeable gods at higher levels, but it's boring.
Well, I'm not talking about being able to use as much as you want. I'm talking about situational. I'm talking about you go into a town and a monster hive just ran through the town and hurt, let's say, 24 people.
Uh-huh.
Maybe your DM will let you overcharge your spell and heal most, if
that
not all.
That could be a fun mechanic, like you take exhaustion.
Yes.
And as a result,
you pass out for a certain amount of days, but you healed all of them. So now the town's in your debt. And then at that point, there's a campaign twist on that, because now maybe you have to defend that city, that town, that village,
and that
because
works.
monsters are coming back.
That works for the divine classes in particular.
Because the gods.
It might not work for any other classes, because the way magic works is there's a finite amount.
Yes.
It's the same as in Lord of the Rings, where anytime Gandalf uses his magic,
He got tired.
He looks like he's exhausted afterward, and he is, because there's not that much left in Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is a story about magic leaving the world, but that works really well for clerics and paladins and any other empowered. I think it's channel divinity.
Yes, they don't hold...
Or something blessing. My player, I have a great story to tell. Go ahead, what were you going to say before I started?
Unlike magic casters of every other type, divine casters, mainly clerics, don't hold the power themselves. All their power is relied directly on their devotion to their deity.
Yes.
So if they go into the center of town and they pray for their deity as hard as they can and ask him to do this, and use him as a vessel, that god that day might do so. You might sleep for the rest of the day, or 2, or a week. It's up to the DM's discretion at that point. But miracles happen, and that's what I meant.
Yes, they do.
That's what I meant. It's like you can go into a town and cure everybody, and now everybody's in your favor.
Mm-hmm.
There's a give and take to that.
It is divine. It is literally divine intervention. There is a mechanic specifically for clerics. I forget what it is called. It might be channel divinity. It might be something else. But I'm going to tell a story really quick about my last Wednesday night game.
Okay.
Where we, as a party, had bunkered down in a cave. Because in this D&D setting, there was an ancient race, basically an alien race that existed prior, that are extinct now, but were highly scientifically advanced. Like, we've had a robot running around with us for a while. Now we've got 2.
Wow.
But,
is it a clockwork or just a normal robot?
Full-on sci-fi. Looks like something out of Portal.
So like Ancient Aliens
yes.
type of... Okay.
Literally Ancient Aliens. They're extinct now. They're called the Anulians. But we were all hunkered down in a small cave, which was created to give access to these large entities called the abattoirs. And what these creatures were, think constructs the size of cities. If people are familiar with Transformers, city bots aren't inaccurate. They essentially, they don't transform, certainly, but size-wise, these things are huge.
They must be massive.
Unbelievably massive.
Like Gundams.
Gundams are tiny in comparison to these things.
So you're talking about skyscraper type.
Yes. Actually, come to think
Titans.
Pacific Rim is a perfect comparison to make. There are 4 of these things. And this bunker was created as an access point for... There were 2 robots in the world that were created by the Anulians and left behind for what purpose we don't know, called marathon units. One of them was Durandal, the other was Tycho. And Tycho was actually traveling with us for a very long time. But Durandal went insane, absorbed the consciousness of a dead king, became schizophrenic, got a more powerful body because we couldn't stop him in time. Shit went down.
Shit hit the fan and then some.
Shit did hit the fan. My character went through multiple existential crises over this crap. But we were hunkered down in this bunker that gives access to the control panel of these things. These 4 Pacific Rim-sized robots that could lay waste to the planet. Because we knew that this Durandal robot was coming to access the panel. And we knew we had to guard it. So we were there for like 4 or 5 days in-game before anything actually happened. But when it did, the city that we were in was completely invaded. And the military force that was in the city, they were They were the KOP. Yeah, they're cops. They're literally cops. But they were paladins of the state. They were paladins that were empowered by loyalty to the country and not a god. But we have a cleric who travels with us who is empowered by the god. Like the universe.
The Almighty.
Yes, it's basically an amalgamation.
The god above all.
Yeah, it's an amalgamation of the universe given sentience. This guy who's traveling with us is a time-traveling cleric of the god in the setting. So the city gets invaded. The tunnel leading into this bunker that we're in gets overrun by these enemies. Durandal himself shows up in a much more powerful body than we can handle, and we're just being overrun. And in the middle of the fighting, when things look their darkest, our cleric puts his weapon down, lays his shield on the ground, because what had happened was the bad guy, his name was Sarax. He was a usurper of the throne.
Okay.
Sarax shows up with a crown and anti-magic sand, which is a thing. And he pours this anti-magic sand on this crown because we were bunkered up with like 20 KOP officers, 20 to 30 KOP officers. We had a small platoon with us.
Yes.
To try and protect this room while the war was going on outside. And this guy named Sarax, he's a dragonborn, and he was a usurper of the throne, pours this magic sand onto this crown. We've never seen this crown before. We don't know what the hell is going on. But as soon as that crown gets touched by that magic sand, it turns to dust. And the KOP officers lose their paladin powers.
Wow.
They got access to the item that was granting these paladins their empowerment. And destroyed it in front of us.
Like their holy element.
Yes.
Holy implement.
Yes, it was an item as opposed to a god. It was representative of their loyalty to the country.
Instead of something to harness it, it was the entity itself.
Yes. It gets destroyed and they lose their power. So we're sitting there with they're not useless, they're still fighters, but they've lost their empowerment.
They no longer have spells, they no longer have anything of the sort.
Yes. And in the middle of the fight, our cleric goes down on one knee, puts his weapon down, and places his hand over, lays his shield on the ground and places his hand over it, and starts to pray. We have no idea what's happening, by the way. He's just doing this. It's like, okay, that's different. And he uses I think it is called divine intervention, to pray. And he rolls. And he succeeds. And one of the most badass events that has ever taken place in this game occurs. Of the 2,000 KOP officers that were still in the city, 400 of them were still alive and fighting. They were losing badly. Every single one of them became paladins of this guy's god. They lost their empowerment. Converted. They were converted, literally. It was amazing because immediately after that, what happened was, again, this is a 5th edition game, every KOP officer in the city had advantage on anything that they did for the next minute. 400 of these guys managed to push back an army of 2,400. I might have exaggerated on the amount of KOP that were in the city, but I know the number at the end was 400. Was 400, and the invading force was 2,400.
2,000 up.
400 guys pushed this army back and out of the city. And our cleric, God bless him, funnily enough, picks up his weapon and just barrel rolls. Not barrel rolls, but he bull rushes through this tunnel that's leading out of the bunker to where this guy Sarax is standing. And he's got like 12 bad guys between him and the guy. He goes through them with his shield. They disintegrate He moves through these guys and they atomize like something out of X-Men 3. They're gone. And when he gets into melee with Serax goes to hit him with his sword, catches it on his shield, the sword disintegrates. So he gets into this one-on-one fight. Meanwhile, I'm in the other room and I'm trying to hold off Durandal. I'm basically trying to hold off Skynet by myself because everybody is being attacked on all fronts, and I'm the tank. So I was legitimately. They all looked at me and told me, "You hold on to your spell slots until he gets here, and then you let him have it." And so the cleric is fighting this Serax guy. He's not doing very well because, unfortunately, he hasn't got the best track record for landing hits, let alone killing individuals, but he's holding him off. He's distracting him, and he dealt with everybody else that was between him and him. So I'm in the other room, and I'm trying to hold off this giant robot that looks like something out of Portal. It's like a much larger version of a ghost from Destiny, but with appendages. This thing was about 8 feet tall, could fly, could do all sorts of things. I'm holding it off along with the enemies that it managed to transport into the room. And I can't hit him. He teleports in. There were various reasons why I couldn't land a hit, but I couldn't. So when he teleports away, it's actually it was one of the best sessions of D&D I've had in a very long time, because before the guy even transported himself and his small squadron into the bunker room that we were guarding, our druid had created several feet worth of stone wall between the room and the console, which in combat takes about 4 hours to get through with 6-second rounds of combat.
So you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of rounds.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to happen.
For each inch of wall, it takes a certain amount of time to penetrate it. I don't remember the exact numbers. The point is, he couldn't get through, so he teleports away. Then he teleports back with a bomb, which we managed to contain. We managed to contain the bomb.
I would hope so.
We made the insane schizophrenic supercomputer scream in anger. That's satisfying, because he's let us go. Like 3 times. He let us go. He just let us go. After we lost, he let us leave.
Wow.
He didn't just, all right, dead.
He was cocky.
He was insane, because he has the mind of a dead, insane king inside of him, like digitized. If you can't tell, this is a very interesting campaign setting. But like, our cleric is trying to hold off Serax. I'm trying to hold off Durandal. Everybody's doing whatever they can to beat these guys. And once we contain the bomb, I kind of I see that our cleric is the one who contained the bomb. Wall of Force. It's a very, very impressive spell. He used Wall of Force to contain the bomb, but when he was down the hallway.
Yeah.
So he had to turn around after his little awesome Jedi duel with Serax. He has to turn around. He has to abandon that after his moment of triumph, after his moment of awesomeness.
He has to give that up.
Yes, he has to abandon that to run back down the hallway and deal with the bomb. So I walk back out into the hallway because I'm kind of standing on the corner, standing between the hallway and the room. They run past me. 2 of my party members, they run past me, and I realize there's nobody else in the hallway. So I raise 2 wands and just disintegrate. I turn the hallway into the barrel of a railgun. And I'm very proud of this. I incinerated Serax in 1 turn by myself.
Using 2 wands.
I did 90 more damage than needed to kill him.
Shit.
I turned this dude to dust. And
you
I'm very
literally
proud
created a magic railgun.
It was a combination of scorching rays I think it was Scorching Ray and it might have been something else. I have it written down somewhere, but it's not here. But suffice to say, I shot enough at this guy. I'm pretty sure it was Scorching Ray, but at like 6th level.
Oh, damn.
Scorching Ray at 6th level twice, because I'm a sorcerer, I'm a twin spell it. And you can twin spell Scorching Ray. You can cast it if the first time you cast it is from an item. Because normally,
Which was the one to Scorching
Ray? If you
Ray?
quickened spell, might have been quickened spell. If you quicken a spell, you can only cast a cantrip next to it. But if you cast it from an item, then you can cast normal.
Okay.
Which I had a spell of I had a wand of Scorching Ray, and then I cast it again at 6th level. So I turned the hallway into a furnace. I cremated this he's a dragonborn. Let's be clear, tough as nails, dragonborn. I incinerated him in one turn.
Scales and all.
And because I was tired of sitting around and doing nothing but waiting for Durandal to show up. I was tired of waiting on the robot and just throwing cantrips at all of these guys. So when I realized I wasn't going to hit Durandal anytime soon, and I saw Serax was in the hallway all by himself, I'm just like, alright. And so I had this image in my head of me standing, like, my character's 7'4". He's an elf. He's tall. He's a freak. He's like Jack Skellington. But I have this image in my head of him standing in the hallway and my two buddies running past either side of me, and me kind of looking at Serax and just raising the wand and gone. Just the entire hall, like Saber from Fate's Day Night unleashing Excalibur in a hallway.
Or better yet,
I killed this shit out of the fucker.
The boulder from Indiana Jones, but it's a fucking fireball.
Essentially, right? but while I'm bragging on myself now, the moral of that story is the cleric saved everybody's asses. He saved the city, he saved all of the remaining KOP officers, and he saved us. And we've only had one session of that game since then, but they're still empowered. We thought it was only going to be a session thing. No, these guys are all permanent paladins of the universe god.
That's what the thing is. The clerics are...
And that's all because he prayed.
Exactly.
He used the prayer, which is a joke. I forget which video game it's from. It might have been Earthbound. Or Mother. Or whichever game it was. But during the final boss fight, the only thing you can do is pray. Like there is a joke running around where you can pray, and that's about the only action that you're given the option of doing. And you're like, this is retarded. But it works. It works really well if you do it properly with the right amount of drama.
Yes, because the thing about clerics they are the keystone. They are their god's implement.
Yes.
And
they are representations of their god on this planet.
Yes, they're not powerful. Their god is powerful.
Yes.
And what better character do you want to play than someone that has a full fucking god behind you?
Especially the god.
Exactly.
He can't hit anything, bless his heart.
His god can.
He was actually using my dice for that game because his dice like to betray him. But
betrayal!
I do. I feel so bad. Careful, copyright. I feel so bad. I feel so bad when he can't hit anything, and finally he gets what he deserves.
I guarantee you Spoonie did not copyright betrayal.
I doubt it.
He should. But okay, so that's clerics. Cool things you can do about clerics. Let's go paladins. As you now understand, paladins are also badass. 400 paladins holding off 2,400 undead army.
400 defeated paladins.
Exactly.
These guys were dying, but they all got healed. They were healed, they were empowered, and they fought off an army that was 6 times their size.
Yep.
God.
And it was 6-1. That means they're all fighting 6 of them at once.
They did it.
Exactly. Paladins are versatile. They're walking tanks. That's essentially what they're. Full plate armor, silver and gold lining, giant ass sword, giant ass shield.
They are if the Clerics are the holy priests. Paladins are the holy warriors.
The knights.
Yes.
And the thing is that they are the strong, charismatic guys. They're that guy that when he takes off his helmet in city and a girl sees him, they swoon.
Yeah.
They're the good-looking, chiseled, square-jawed, just the warrior. They have spells too.
Do they use charisma?
They use charisma and strength.
Cool.
Their constitution modifier is for health, just like everybody else, but yeah, their primary is strength or charisma. And the good thing about paladins are that they are the shields, simple and martial weapons, and all armor. Doesn't matter what it is. They're proficient in it. They have a D10 hit die, so even more life than the cleric, which is they are the warrior, so they would have more life. Instead of archetypes, which they have oaths, like the Oath of Vengeance, Oath of I believe it's Oath of Vengeance, Oath of the Ancients. I believe there's one other I can't remember, but think Judge Dredd in Oath of the Vengeance. Their whole purpose, their whole job, is to kill the bad guy, not take him in, kill. Put him out.
What's their call?
Well, yeah, but their go-to move is to kill him. If they're a bad guy, they take him out. But that's because...
Really? Paladins? That's surprising to me.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's Judge Dredd. And, paladins... There's good paladins and bad paladins, and I'm not talking about alignment here.
Yeah. That is an important thing I think we should address. When people hear the word paladin, they tend to associate it immediately with lawful good. While that's not necessarily accurate, it depends on
how you play him.
First of all, if you are playing a lawful good paladin, your actions are only restricted by the law of the setting. So
yes.
talk to your DM, get a feel for exactly what law is like, because frankly, a paladin can do whatever he wants within the law.
Yes.
So if your law is super fucked up, like bounty hunting is totally legal, you can have a bounty hunting paladin.
Exactly. And that's a good spin on the character, because at that point, you're an unorthodox paladin. You're going around killing, bringing people's head for justice.
And most of the time, killing's totally legal for paladins. But that being said, expanding on that, a paladin does not have to be lawful good, which is an important distinction to make, because I think that's a misconception a lot of people have. They feel like, oh, I'm playing a paladin, it's going to be so boring because I have to play lawful good. That's not the case. You can play neutral good, chaotic.
I played a chaotic good paladin.
Yeah.
I played a chaotic good paladin. He would grind up glass and throw it in people's eyes.
There used to be some very strict rules for playing paladins and having specific clerics too, for playing them and having specific.
4th edition was lawful good, period.
Specific alignments you'd have to.
Yes.
But that again really just depends on the setting.
In 4th edition, there was, if you're playing a good paladin or cleric, it had to be lawful good. But they also gave you blackguard paladins, which were the counterparts to that.
4th edition had a lot of things like that.
Not an anti-paladin, a blackguard paladin.
Yes, although I do believe there are currently anti-paladin rules for 5th edition, and I'm not sure if they had them for 4th.
They did not.
But 4th was around for so long that I wouldn't be surprised if a third party designed rules to play an anti-paladin. Again, if you're playing an anti-paladin, that is, it is an anti-paladin. You're playing an evil character, which I personally would always recommend against. Never go below chaotic neutral.
Yeah, with the anti-paladin, you're walking around causing disease just being there.
Yeah, even the neutral alignments tend to
cause muddled in the conversation.
Yes, it will create
strife.
Yes,
problem. And if you do play a lawful paladin, you don't have to be a prick about it. It's not what people see. If you see one of your co-adventurers do something that's against the law, you don't have to be like, now I have to kill you. It's not that cut and dry.
So yeah, paladins are. Don't be afraid to play a paladin because of horror stories you've heard, and there are a lot of horror stories related to paladins, especially about metagaming stuff where out of game arguments start. You don't have to feel afraid of that. That's easily dealt with, especially if the DM has proper control over the situation.
And keep in mind, alignment is
It's a tool.
It's a tool.
It's a role-playing tool.
It's not, oh, you're this. It's you tend to be in this.
Yeah.
It's not. It doesn't define you. It is used by you.
This is the parameter by which my character will normally act.
Yes.
We're not saying that, given extreme circumstances, my character would behave differently.
Exactly. All right.
To quote another internet D&D talker.
Now for the grand total monk.
Yes, a monk. I know nothing about a monk.
Just like in real life, they use ki. Everybody knows what ki is, or chi.
Chi, yes, I know it as chi. So like their Iron Fist.
The comic book, not the show.
I say that from the comic book. I don't watch the show. I haven't watched any of the Defenders series yet.
I watched
a little bit of Luke Cage. I watched a little bit of Luke Cage with DK.
I've watched all of them. That Iron Fist sucks, but the show. He's essentially a special monk, yes.
I'll be straight up. Iron Fist isn't a very interesting character in the comics either. From what I hear, the show is basically Green Arrow.
No, it's worse.
Well, I'm not saying Green Arrow was bad. I hear Green Arrow. What little I've
Green Arrow is great. All 5 seasons.
But I'm saying the story is essentially the same. Starting out, it's like, oh, this rich kid disappeared, and then he comes back.
That's oversimplification, because when Green Arrow left, it was only 5 years. When he left, he was a child. When he came back,
everybody thought he was dead.
When he came back, no one believed that he was Danny Rand. When Oliver came back, everybody knew Oliver.
Yeah.
There's key differences.
Okay.
There's very big differences. Yeah. Also,
my knowledge of Iron Fist is limited.
Yes.
A thing or two about Doctor Strange. Don't know anything about Doctor Strange either.
Back to monks.
Yeah, monks.
They're mainly dexterity and wisdom because they're all about the in and out quick movements. At lower levels, they're not too strong. At higher levels, they're beasts.
Do they still do like diamond skin?
Yes. Later on, their skin get as hard as diamond, and
in that edition, or do they just have stone skin in this game?
I don't
think diamond skin is an ability in this game, sadly. But I know in previous editions, you could do that with monks.
They have essentially what's in between the two.
Okay.
They can use short swords and like simple weapons. They're usually throwing. I believe they only have like a D8 hit die, not much.
That's D8's not bad.
For a melee fighter, it's less than you want it to be.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong; it's still better than like second edition advanced D&D. You still have more hit points.
Yeah.
Great thing though is they have unarmored defense, which is ungodly awesome to have, especially when you're in a monk, because later you get more to your defense for it. They're obviously dexterity, and they're mixed martial arts. They do not have heavy or two-handed properties when they use anything.
They proficient with any weapons?
Simple weapons, like short swords, long swords. No martial weapons, no throwing daggers. I think they're proficient in darts.
Never used darts. I've never had the occasion to use darts.
Starting at like second or third level, I forget what, they get a certain amount of key points, and they use those to basically make themselves stronger. I know they have flurry of blows.
The closest thing I know that's comparable to key points are sorcery points. Do they function like that?
Yes. Let's say that you flurry of blows is when you make an attack. If you spend 1 key point, you immediately make 2 unarmed strikes as a bonus action.
Damn.
So that's 3 attacks. At 5th level,
I know monks will mess you up with their fists. That's their whole thing.
At 5th level, you get extra attack, so you can attack twice, and each of those spend a key point. No, you can only use 1 bonus action per turn.
Yeah.
So you could do 4 or 5 attacks.
Damn.
They also get deflect missile, which is really great because that's, you can deflect and catch bolts and arrows and.
Wonder Woman.
Her way of catching is a little bit different. Oh God. They take less fall damage as leveling up. They get empowered strikes, invasions, and purity of the body makes them immune to diseases and poison.
Don't they stop aging at a certain point? Do they still do that?
I don't believe so. I believe they age. But purity of body at 10th level, their ki is mastered to such a degree that they're just immune to disease and poison. And it's just like, bitch, please.
I've never been much for playing melee fighting characters. I'm actually exploring that for the first time. I'm currently playing in a game that DK is running a revised Ranger class.
Yep.
Which is going pretty well so far. But I usually stay out of melee. That character's dual wielding, and that's the closest I get that I've really gotten to being a melee combatant.
Yeah, it was.
Otherwise, I'm a camper.
The campaign you and Ariel are doing really turning out to be a nice campaign. We'll talk more about that later.
Yeah.
But it's a good
We
Ranger
actually
class.
may, depending on if she wants to choose a screen name, we may want to edit her name out before we put this up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably not though, because I'm not thinking she's gonna worry about it. At 13th level, they get Tongue of the Sun and Moon. They understand all languages that can be spoken and understood.
Huh.
If it's a thing that can speak a language that's
Right. My buddy, my badass buddy who brought down the wrath of God on some mofos. He was talking to me about that one time. He's like, I was stressing over what languages I should learn, and he's like, well, at this level, I can speak and read all languages. It's like, well, just take the excitement right out of it for me.
I was wrong. At 15th level, they stop aging from. They stop having the fragility of old age.
So they stop aging.
Yeah, it says you cannot.
All right,
age
that's what I thought. I thought
magically.
they still did that.
You cannot be aged magically either.
Damn.
You can still die of old age. However, in addition, you no longer need food or water.
Lord.
They become Gandhi. But, fuck you up, Gandhi.
Yeah. Magic Gandhi. Magic Gandhi.
More magic Gandhi.
More
Empty body at level 18. Yeah, I am reading these. I haven't done a 5th level monk, just letting you know.
I've never done a monk period. It looked cool. Just, again, I'm not a melee guy.
At 18.
I'll stand in the back and throw magic missiles at people all day, but if you want me to get up close and personal with somebody, my hit points are important to me.
As your soul shall be.
My hit points are important to me, man.
I believe at 18th level, yeah, right here. Basically, you increase your damage resistance by spending key points. But at level 20, here's my favorite thing. Level 20, you roll initiative for no key points remaining. You regain 4.
That's
So
really good.
if you're out, you have more.
That's really good. I've run into issues like that with my current sorcerer, who is multi-classing. but because they have a mechanic that lets them transform spell slots into sorcery points, and I'm multi-classing into Warlock, whose spell slots regenerate on short rests, I have a method by which I can cannibalize my Warlock spell slots, take a short rest, and do it again.
Oh, God.
Just to get more sorcery points. So I'll manage to keep up with my sorcery points as we level for that. Just for that.
But, when you see Monk, what do you think?
Like my mental image?
Yeah.
Bald guy. Really, if you want to know exactly what I think of the previous Sorcerer Supreme from Doctor Strange.
Okay.
What's her name? What's her name? I don't remember the actress's name. I love her. She was in Constantine as Gabriel.
She was also the White Witch and
she was the White Witch in Narnia, wasn't she? Yeah, I love her.
Yeah,
I love her to
awesome.
death.
Well,
But that's what I picture.
At 3rd level, you can pick an archetype for your monk called Open Hand, which essentially is you manipulating your own ki and your opponent's, and you can heal yourself using your ki.
Cool.
Spend ki points to heal yourself, or just do a whole lot more damage. At 6th level, you can heal yourself to a degree.
Yeah.
We
are going over these, by the way, folks. You said that already, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going over these. We're skimming.
So if you want to be something that's just like a total badass, that you see that guy that gets into combat, sucker punch, not even sucker punches, just decks a guy 3 times in the face, and like Bruce Lee in the span of like half a second, the monk's for you.
What do their spell capabilities look like? Do they have spell casting?
They have key abilities. They have.
So they're more of a magically empowered martial class.
Yes, 5th to 8th level, they get 3 key points for spells. 9 to 12, it's 4. 13 to 16, it's 5. And 17 to 20, it's 6. So at level 20, when you have none, getting 4 back is like a big deal.
Yeah.
They have spells, like they have Breath of Winter, 17th level required. You can spend 6 key points to cast a cone of cold.
Yeah.
Or you can spend 3 key points to cast Hold Person.
Hold Person? Yeah, that's a really good spell.
You can tune to elements to where when you hit someone, you can chill them or warm them. It's like Eternal Mountain Defense level. You get Stone Skin if you use 5 key points.
You will. All right. So to try and summarize what a monk is character-wise, a monk is a monk. Everyone knows what a monk is, who channels their own life force to give themselves superpowers in a fight.
Yes, but not even just that. Like at 11th level, they can cast Fireball.
Yeah, but it says that they're using key points to cast Fireball?
Yes.
Then it's them channeling their own powers and creating a spell. They're not even casting the spell.
No, they're just doing a channel energy
using the spell innately.
To have that innately be
mechanically used. They're casting the spell. But
yes.
Yeah. It's them channeling their own life force to accomplish magical
exactly.
Magical tasks. And that's pretty cool.
I frankly want to play a rogue monk.
I think multi-classing in monk can be very, very useful.
Yes.
When do they get unarmored defense?
Unarmored defense, I believe they get very early on. I believe that's level 1. It's 2nd level, I believe.
2nd level. Alright. That's not bad.
It is 1st level. Unarmored defense at 1st level. And for what you don't understand, if you don't know what unarmored defense is, that is when you wear no armor or shield, you get your AC, which is 10, plus your dexterity mod, plus your wisdom mod.
Yeah.
Instead of just your 10 and your dex. With unarmored defense, it doesn't matter how high your AC, your modifier is, you get that whole modifier. So if you have an 18, you get a plus 4 to it. But if you're wearing armor, you're capped at 2 plus. Like if I'm wearing full plate, and then I get my dexterity modifier on top of that. There's a cap. There's a cap of 2, so it's 18, 19, 20.
Ah.
So if you guys don't understand how armor works, that's the general census of it. That's why monks get such strong skin, because their attributes points get going and going and going up.
Yeah, it's a balancer.
Yeah. And it goes off your dexterity and wisdom. So if you have a 20 wisdom and a 20 dexterity, that's an 8.
Yeah. Damn.
Not including anything else, not including any feats you might have or magical equipment, like bracers of defense that give you a +2.
Yeah.
Which is the magic item. I mean, you can be unstoppable.
There's some broken combinations.
Yeah.
You think we have time to talk about Ranger?
Yeah, we got plenty of time.
Or would you like to take the pseudo spellcasting classes and kind of mesh them together later?
We'll just do the base a bit of the classes right now. We'll talk a little bit about the monk you want to talk about. Expand a little bit more onto last episodes. Go ahead and talk freely. About
refresh my memory.
About the Ranger.
The Ranger?
Yeah. You wanted to talk more about the Ranger, right?
Yeah. Well, I was wondering, do we want to talk about the Ranger class?
Yeah, that's fine.
And the Bard class now, or do we want to hold off on those for later?
We can do it now.
Okay. All right. Well, so yeah, Rangers. Rangers are essentially hunters. Most of the time. Sometimes they are beast masters. But that really only works. In my defense, as far as 5th edition goes, I've only recently been exposed to the revised Ranger class. Most of my knowledge comes from the original Ranger class from the Player's Handbook.
Now, we are talking about the Middle Finger of Vecna website.
No, revised Ranger, that is Wizards.
Oh, okay.
Wizards basically
fix their problems.
This is a fun little backstory thing, but when 5th edition was released, people were pissed because Ranger is a very popular class to play, and in 5th edition it was called by many people the weakest class. The revised Ranger, I'm not sure where it was printed, but the revised Ranger is Wizards of the Coast going back and completely fixing everything that people said was wrong with the Ranger to make them more effective.
Because they realized how bad they screwed up.
For instance, favored enemy. You have the favored enemy trait, which lets you choose a type of monster, at least in the original version of the Ranger. It lets you pick a particular type of enemy, and that would give you advantage on tracking it. It would give you advantage on figuring out things
about it.
Remembering things about it and finding it in the wild. But what the revised Ranger does is it does all of that, but it streamlines it to like humanoids, all humanoids, undead, beasts. Whereas before, every couple of levels, you'd pick a new favorite enemy to add on top of the ones you already had, and you had to pick specifically orcs, giant spiders,
no, that's not how
dire wolves, undead. At least undead stayed the same, because undead was the most useful one to pick, because it encapsulated so much, depending on the setting, of course.
Still does, even.
Now you get to pick humanoids instead of orc, elf, goblin.
Human.
You can pick humanoids. You can pick beasts, all animals. You can pick monstrosities, monsters, any monster. You can pick undead.
The trash golem.
I'm not sure which one that would fall under. I think I'm covering them all. But, yeah, they fixed that, and, most importantly, in my opinion, they grant you a damage bonus.
To that monster.
To your favored enemy, which the original Ranger lacked. Yes, the Ranger has, what is it called? What is that spell called?
So, normally...
Hunter's Mark. You had the Hunter's Mark spell. But in 4th edition, you had the Hunter's Mark ability, which granted you mass amounts of damage against your enemies. But that's all you had, and that was a spell. And as a Ranger, you don't have a lot of spell slots. You can't go casting that every minute. So the fact that they give you a damage bonus, which does increase later, so far as I can tell.
It's innately right now.
Yes, it starts with a +2, and I think you get a +4 later. And at later levels, you also get to choose a much more powerful favored enemy. It's like the list includes dragons. Do you remember what I said last night? I read it off to you.
Yes.
Dragons. Suffice to say,
the big bads, beholders,
when
dragons.
You're at medium levels, you get to pick what is a greater. It's actually called that. It's a greater favored enemy, and you get boons to fighting them as well.
Exactly.
What else is notable about the Ranger? They're very good all-around characters. If you're wanting to go into a game and you want to be able to play a jack of all trades, the Ranger and the Bard are perfect for that. They can do a little bit of everything. And if you build a Dex-based Ranger, which I always do, it opens the door to Thief multiclassing later. It makes you quite versatile in combat because you're very good at ranged combat, and there are plenty of options for you to fight in melee with finesse and shields. So they have a little bit of everything sprinkled in there, but they are hunters, they are wild men, they are knights of the forest, and I'm pretty sure that everybody who knows D&D knows Lord of the Rings, and perfect examples, excuse me, of Rangers are Legolas and Aragorn. They're both Rangers. And they're the two best fighters. Is that an inaccurate statement?
No, it is completely accurate.
Gimli's good, but if I had to class Gimli, I wouldn't know exactly what to class Gimli as, but probably a fighter.
Yeah, he's a fighter. Legolas is definitely a ranger.
Yeah. And
Aragorn's definitely a ranger.
They straight up say Aragorn's a ranger. There's actually a moment in Two Towers when we first meet Faramir, who is he's Boromir's brother.
Yes.
And he's a ranger, and he has what is essentially like Gondorian CIA running around with him. Like all of those guys with bows and like the stealthy cloaks, those guys are essentially like the prince's private armed forces. They are rangers.
They're the cream of the crop.
They're still rangers, but they're like Black Ops rangers, which is
That's
really
terrifying.
Cool. It is, and it's terrifying. And when you're good at stealth, that's what you get.
Right now, I am building against a range. I'm talking about stealth. You know this. I'm building a stealthy fighter.
Yeah.
He's going to be able to sneak behind someone and bash their head in.
He's using the middle finger of Vecna fighter spin-off, Bone Knight. It's a Bone Knight, where he can create an exoskeleton for himself and grow his own weapons from his hands. This will be for a game that I'm going to be running in the future.
It's really nice because I'm going to multi-class after 7th level into
Rogue.
Rogue.
Yeah.
Specifically a rogue archetype such as Arcane Trickster. Or if I can find another middle finger Vecna class that's like that, I'll do that.
Yeah. What else can we say about Ranger? They're pseudo spellcasters, which is why I was wanting to bring them up in this talk, because we covered the three kind of obvious spellcasters in the last game.
Yeah.
Then we covered the divine spellcasters and the monk in this game.
Which monk is still considered a divine.
Is monk divine?
To a degree. It depends on the edition. Previous editions, they were a divine to a degree. They didn't follow God so much as an ideology, which was considered... It still had the same mechanism.
Oh, okay. So they're philosophy-based divine creatures. All right. I can buy that.
Like your KOPs.
Yeah, totally. Rangers, again, the reason I wanted to bring them up in this podcast was because they are pseudo-spellcasters. They have spell slots, not as many as some people.
They're half-casters.
Yes, they don't have access to the best spells, but they have again, I haven't been playing a revised Ranger for very long, but when I have played the normal Ranger prior to that, the normal 5th edition Ranger, you can create a battlefield-like tactical commander really easily, because the spells that they grant you are...
Control.
Well, you can create, like... You can use pieces of ammo to create magical landmines.
Holy crap.
Yeah, you can. There are Ranger spells that let you pull them up. I can pull them up real quick.
We'll go. Well, we're just doing the brief summary. We'll do a podcast about each class in depth at some point.
Oh, really? Cool.
We will.
Cool.
We'll talk about the in-depth parts of the Rangers, Wizards, cool ways to increase damage, cool things like that.
Yeah, as far as Rangers go, you can create very effective, like, mountain men, like hermits, people who live off of the wild men.
Yeah. Sages.
There are spells like Good Berry, another thing that makes them able to do that. But then you have a significant number of spells that are directed at interaction with animals. For the Beastmaster archetype and for the Hunter archetype, there are a lot of spells that let you become a tactical fighter. You know, like I said, there's the landmine spell that you use ammo to plant stuff. There are several spells like that for you to be a tactical combatant to support your allies from the rear. So yeah, very versatile. In my opinion, the most versatile class in D&D, outside of maybe the next class that we could talk about, which is the Bard.
Yeah.
Which, I don't actually have any experience playing Bards.
Me either.
But I know they're fun as shit, and I would love to play a Bard in the future. Just need to find the right time and the place and the game for it.
Next podcast, I believe we'll go ahead and go into a deeper thing about, we'll talk about Bards, rogues, and the other miscellaneous classes.
Cool. And we covered, what, 5 classes in this one?
4 or 5, yeah.
4 or 5.
Well, my nerdians, this is Levels of Ridiculous. I am DK.
And I am Ozpin.
I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we will see you later. You're always welcome in the kingdom of NerdDum.
And something I'd like to say really quick. How do you feel about doing listener questions?
Yes.
All right, then feel free to submit listener questions in the comment section below. And if you submit a question, we will be happy to answer it. And
on our next podcast.
On air, yes.
We will print off. Let's say if we get 10, we'll do 10. Any more than that, it'd cut into it. But we'll pick 10 random.
Yeah.
Or the best comments.
Yeah, the ones we like. We'll pick 10 of the ones we like, and we'll just see how much time we have to do it. But yeah, we'll read your questions on air and do our best to answer them. And feel free to ask us anything you'd like. Don't get inappropriate, people. Come on, be mature. But feel
this
free.
This is the internet.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. But feel free to ask us anything about. We're both members of various fandoms.
Yep.
There's a reason the channel is called NerdDum.
And there's a reason why I play video games, do fun facts, do podcasts.
Yeah.
This is all around nerd. It is the kingdom of nerds.
Feel free to ask us anything nerdy.
And just to let you
know,
know,
more than delighted to answer it.
NerdDum is supposed to be spelled that way. Just to say. And that was on purpose.
As it's NerdDum.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
A capital NERD, capital DUM. I spelt it that way on purpose.
You nerd. Dumb!
Exactly.
Sorry, I deserve to be choked.
Oh, I'll force choke you later. See you guys.
Have a good one.